Good morning, 8Cs, receiving school students and teachers.
Good morning, Miss Irma.
Thank you. You may sit down. All right, 8Cs and receiving students and teachers. I reminded you that our lesson today was going to be on water. All right, water is also a resource, all right, an important resource that we use. And since this topic is a big topic, we might have 2 or 3 lessons for this topic, water, all right? So receiving students and teachers, we're not only going to have this lesson, all right? We'll break this, or we'll have this topic, all right? We'll have 3 lessons, 3 or 2 lessons for this topic, because this topic is a very big topic, and we need to cover some important points, all right, or main points in here. All right, using water, class. All right, class, do you drink salt water, receiving students? No, you don't drink salt water. Okay, you can just get the main points of this. So 50 to 75% of our body is water, all right? So all living animals or living things are mostly water, mostly made up of, or let's say mostly water, plants, animals, and including human beings. So we can say 50 to 75% of water, or 2/3. 2/3 of our body is water, right? So if there wasn't any water, there would be no life. There would be no life at all. So water is very important. Or water is a vital substance. Vital meaning important. If you haven't, please copy from your friend if you haven't copied this down. If you haven't finished copying, it says you copy from your friends. All right, let's move on. Then it reads 70% of the world's surface is covered by water. This includes the saltwater oceans and freshwater rivers. And another interesting fact of water, the world uses over 4 billion liters of fresh water a day. 4 billion liters of water is used a day, all right, in the world. In the world today, 4 billion liters of water, of fresh water is used. All right, maybe for drinking, for washing, all right, cleaning, bathing. All right, if you have your textbooks there, HCs and receiving students, you can turn to page 24 and 25 of your textbook. Receiving students, your textbook. If you have a copy, the resources of PNG, turn to page 24 and 25. Now let's look at page 24. Right, are you all on page 24? All right, I'd like you to look at where it says the water cycle. Now, have you touched on this in science? All right, good. Water cycle. So you receiving students, I hope, you've looked at this in your science lesson, water cycle. Now, can someone explain the process of this water cycle, of the cycle here? You've said you've looked at this topic in your science lesson. Can anyone explain the cycle? Receiving students, explain the cycle here, the process of the cycle. Oh, looks like you forgot. right, anyway, let's look at page 24, where it says the water cycle. All right, class, can you just read the first paragraph? Water is everywhere.
Water is everywhere around us. There is water in the seas, on the land, and in the air.
All right, stop there. Right, water is everywhere around us. It's in the air, on the land. Water is also in the seas. So water is not only at one place, right? It's everywhere. Now let's look at let's look at the cycle, the water cycle. This is an ongoing process, all right? It continues, the cycle. All right, it says the oceans lose water through evaporation. All right, they also gain water which flows back into them in rivers or through the spaces in the rocks or through the soil. The movement of water from the sea to the atmosphere, then falling as rain and flowing back to the sea again, is known as the water cycle. Water is a renewable resource. All right, if you look at your diagram on page 24, all right, diagram on page 24, receiving students, if you have your textbooks there. All right, looking at the arrows, the first two arrows that are going up. What are these two arrows showing? Looking at your diagram and also up here, what are these two arrows showing? Hands up, please. Receiving students. Yes, Bronwyn.
Water that's evaporating, the sun caused the water in the sea to evaporate, and water is evaporating towards the clouds.
All right. Did you hear that, class? Receiving students, the sun, all right, evaporates water from the sea or the ocean, right? The sun evaporates, or water is, the sun evaporates water from the seas and ocean. And what does it form? Clouds. Okay, it forms clouds. It forms clouds. And then what happens? The clouds. What? Yes, Nakoas?
The clouds loses water as rain.
All right, the clouds loses water, all right, or condenses, changes into water or rain or snow. And then as the rain or snow flows through the, let's say, rivers, all right, rivers, so it goes into the ground or into the earth. And then what happens? It flows to the sea. Water flows back to the sea, and then it starts again. The cycle continues again. Sun evaporates water from the ocean or sea, changes into clouds, all right, forms rain and snow. What the rain and snow falls onto the ground, moves in, or it goes into the ground, into the rivers, and then back again to the sea, and then the cycle continues. All right. So here it reads, class. All right. The sun evaporates water from the oceans. This condenses into clouds, which bring rain to the land and the rivers. Water seeps, or meaning escapes or passes through into the ground and flows downhill towards the seas and rivers. Rivers carry the water back to the oceans. You understand, 8Cs? And the cycle continues. So water is a renewable resource. It cannot run dry, all right? Water cannot finish, all right? Water is still here, it's still there, right? So we cannot say water is a non-renewable resource. Water is a renewable resource. We have water, all right? We are made up of water, all right? Our bodies have water. There is water in the air, all right? There is water in gas, yes, in the form of gas, all right? Form of liquid. Right, I'll give you 2 minutes to copy this one down. Answer if you finished. Not yet, okay. Copy these notes on. All right, who's finished? Class? All right, if please, those of you who's finished, or if you finish in your group, your other friends copy from you, okay? Your other friends will copy from you, please, the notes. All right, let's move on. All right, class, receiving students, what are some important uses of water? Right? Some important uses of water, class, what are they? Uses. What do you do with water? Receiving students? Drinking? All right, washing, cooking, Okay, what will we say? Okay, do you know what this word means? Irrigation. What does it mean? All right, class. What is irrigation? Okay, Eunice.
Providing water for plants and livestock.
All right. Yes. Okay. Good. Any other answers? Irrigation. Or you can say irrigation is watering of land by artificial methods. Okay. In places where there is no, there are no rivers, there are no water at all, where the area is dry. All right. So irrigation is watering of land, right, or farmland or gardens using water. So this water is used. Water used for irrigation is taken from the sea, rivers, lakes, or wells. All right. That's irrigation. And what else do we use water for? Electricity. Yeah, we use water for electricity. Water in rushing. We use water in rushing rivers. Wait, rushing rivers and all right, here class, look here. One important point here, we use water from rushing rivers and thundering waterfalls to produce electricity. Without water, no electricity. Okay? So in our next lesson, we are going to look more into this. All right? What do we call it? What do we call using water to produce electricity? Hydroelectric or hydroelectricity, yeah. Right, in our next lesson, we will touch on that, all right? So some important uses of water, class, right? We use water for drinking, washing or bathing, cooking, right? Cleaning, irrigation, watering land, all right? From irrigation, we use, places where it is very dry, we use water to water the land, all right? From the rivers, seas, lakes, even wells. But in our next lesson, we're going to look more into this. 2 points here. Irrigation and hydroelectricity. 8Cs, receiving students, you understand? Yes. Right? All right, let's move on to our next page, page 25 of our textbook. Fresh water, all right, it reads on page 25, in Papua New Guinea, there often seems to be plenty of water, all right, both as rainfall and in the rivers. However, some areas experience heavy rainfall than the others. Some areas, they don't experience any rainfall at all. All right, look at the two graphs below. What are these graphs called? What are these graphs called, class? Column graphs or rainfall graphs, all right? Which shows the rainfall measurements for each of the places in a what? In a year. Or the average rainfall figures. And rainfall, the figures are measured in centimeters, kilometers, millimeters. All right, good. Okay, class, quickly, I'd like you to do this activity. Write down your questions. Study the rainfall graph for Thalassia in West New Britain province. Firstly, state the total rainfall, the wettest month, and the driest month. All right? Looking at your graph for Thalassia in West New Britain province, state the total rainfall, the wettest month, and the driest month. All right? That's your activity, or your short activity. Let's see. Wait, I'll try this one first. What you can do is you can skip number 1, all right? The total rainfall, and you can work on the two other points, the wettest month and driest month, right? And then later, if we have enough time, then you can work on number 1, because it has to, you have to work out the total figures for each month, huh? All right? So try and go to the wettest month and the driest month, the 2 questions there. Do the 2 questions there first, and then later you can go back to the other first question. Class, you finished? All right, class. What's the wettest month? The wettest month is January. All right, January received the highest rainfall. driest rainfall measurement? Maybe estimate how much? 797 or 98? Okay, let's say 798 millimeters or 97 millimeters. Okay, what was the driest month? September. Okay, September was the driest month with the lowest rainfall measurement. So looking at Thalassia and Port Moresby, what can you say about Thalassia? Looking at the two rainfall graphs. Class? Looking at the two rainfall graphs, come on. What can you say about Thalassia? Hands up, please. Bronwyn?
It rains more often in West New Britain than in Port Moresby.
It rains more often, okay? It rains a lot in Thalassia than in Port Moresby. Okay, good. Listen, receiving students and 8Cs. All right, I reminded you in our next lesson, we will still continue with water, all right? Because water is a very big topic. We have to make sure that the main points are given to you. Enough points are given to you. All right, class, our keyword for today is water, all right, receiving teachers. And that brings us to the end of our lesson. Thank you, 8Cs, receiving students and teachers for listening.